How you going, guys? My name's Michael Lovados and I am the Board Game Bully. And boy oh boy, post-COVID, what a time to be a board gamer. With the first ever World Series of Board Game Championships being held in Las Vegas and me living in Australia, it has become evidently clear that I need to have a board game YouTubing channel to justify the cost of going over there and possibly be able to write it off. Wink wink, tax evasion. So, with that, welcome to the channel. Here we'll be doing some reviews and hopefully from 2022 onwards we will be doing live playthroughs and we might even throw in the occasional list, which is why you've clicked on this one here, because we are talking the top 7 things to do / not do / be / not be at your new board game group. First point on our list is don't be a snob. I get it. You like really deep Euros. I like really heavy and deep Euros. I completely get that. Sometimes in a group you're gonna have to play party games. And that might not be what you had in mind when you made the drive to the group. But that's the reality that you're living in. The way I see it, you have 3 options. You can play the party games and bitch and moan all the time about how you're not having fun. You can not play the party games and be a weirdo sitting in the corner. Or you can just try and be like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna hang out with some new people today and play some light games where I don't really have to think, and you might just find that you enjoy it. How weird is that? Also, by the same token of this, if you only ever play a certain style of game and that style of game is just not being played, give something heavier a go. Give something different a go. You know, it might not be the best game that you have ever played. You might not even like it that much. But board gaming is a social experience, and part of a social experience is compromise. You're not going to get to do what you want to do all the time. So just try something. See what happens. You might be surprised. If not, what did you lose? 2 hours? 3 hours? It was Twilight Imperium, maybe 8 hours, but you got plenty of hours, you'll be fine. Which takes us straight into our second point, which could look a little hypocritical now that I think about how I've listed these things, but that's be appropriate. And I'm going to say this, and this might make me sound snobby, and I'll wear that. Cards Against Humanity is not a game. Don't bring that out at Games Group. We had someone the other day at Games Group bring out the card game. There were literally cards in this game that made you say the word We were in mixed company. On top of that, someone at Games Group the other day brought out code names in a group where half the people were international students. Look at the group. Be appropriate. For the most part, we're not your drinking buddies. So don't go bringing out a non-game like Cards Against Humanity or the card game. If people don't speak English as their first language, maybe don't bring out a word game. Our next point, I'm going to start this off by saying, if you are new to the hobby, if COVID has gotten into you if COVID has gotten you into the hobby and you don't know a lot about games, I'm just going to tell you straight away, they're really expensive. They cost a lot of money. It's not like Monopoly where you can just go pick up another one for $30 from Kmart. Games are really expensive. So please do not eat at the gaming table. No pizzas, no curries, no soups, just no food, no grease, nothing. Snacks? Sure, maybe, depends. If they're going to leave your fingers covered in stuff, no snacks. Eat an apple, that'll be okay, but then make sure the apple juice doesn't get on my cards. I'll be really upset. And if you're a game host, if you're hosting a game group, you can really help this not happen by scheduling a lunch break. If we're gaming for 8 hours, just have a scheduled lunch break. It has a multitude of benefits. It keeps food and games away from each other. but it also stops people being scared to leave the table because they might lose their place in the group that they're playing with. Let's be honest, we're not always the most social creatures. If we come in and play a game with 4 to 5 people, that's generally our 4 to 5 people for the day. And you don't want people sitting there being like, oh, if I get up, they're going to start another game and then I have to go and meet another 4 to 5 people. That just might be a little bit too much for people. So don't eat around tables. Schedule a lunch break. Little twofer there. The next number is, if you can teach, please do. I would say that not only should you, you're almost obligated to. Board gaming is a really small hobby, and when we try and get new people into board gaming, all it's going to take is one bad experience for them to be like, nah, not for me. So if you know that you can explain rules in a user-friendly way, then just do it. You know, board games share a lot of mechanisms, so even if you haven't played the game, if no one else at the table has played the game, but you've played a lot of games, you should probably just read the rule book and explain it to everyone. Because all it's going to take is one person messing up those rules on someone's first play of a game. Best case scenario, they go, that game was terrible. Because you taught it wrong. Worst case scenario, they say, gaming is not for me. And there aren't enough of us to be able to send people away like that. So if you have explained rules in the past and people have complimented you on how you explain rules, sorry, it's your job. You're the rules guy now. Sticking with the theme of rules for this point, if the rules are being explained to you, please don't interrupt. Please don't be on your phone. If you got to go to the toilet, fine, you got to go to the toilet. Like, that's... I would prefer you didn't, but if you have to, you have to. But please don't interrupt. If you're looking at your player board or you're looking at the game and you think, oh, he hasn't explained this yet, there's probably a reason. Rules are generally best explained in a certain order as they appear in the rule book. So if you start asking questions that haven't been answered yet, you have people jumping through the rule book, it becomes a mess. Just let the person explain the rules. File your question away, because your question may be valid. If they say, okay, that's it, that's who wants to have a first go, and you know, if we miss anything, we'll just pick it up in our first round, because that's generally how most first playthroughs go. And you go, hold on, whoa, I don't think you answered my question. Then ask it. Because he's indicated, or she has indicated to you that they're finished doing the rules explanations. That is the time for questions. Or if they say something and you have a question on that, ask it immediately. That's the only exception. If I say, if a card is blue, say blue, and you don't know what blue is, ask straight away, please. But if I'm explaining what the blue cards do and you're like, oh, but what about these yellow cards? What do they do? I'm not there yet. We'll get there. Thank you. This rule is one that I'm very passionate about, and that is be on time. This is more for your benefit than anyone else's, really. If you're late to games and there's no group for you to sit in with, that's your fault. Yeah, you might make the other people feel a little bit guilty and uncomfortable, but you're the one sitting there not doing anything. Also, if you get there on time, you get your pick of what type of game you're going to play. If you're one of the first people there, most likely people are going to be like, oh, okay, well, so like, what do you want to play? Bang! If you want to play some, what do we got? You want to play some Rise and Fall of Anvalar? I don't even know what that is. I didn't even know that was on my shelf. Then say it. You can play some Blood Rage. Or you can play some Arkham Horror. You can play whatever you want. Because you were there first. And this actually happened to me just the other day. And I sucked it up and I dealt with it. It was my fault. My partner and I were going to a game group for the first time, and for some reason in my head I got in that we needed to leave an hour later than we actually did. So I realised this, but we were still 20 minutes late. By then, all the groups had started to form, and all that was left were these new to game group people. And even though I was new to that games group, I wasn't new to games. But they wanted light party games. I didn't drive an hour for late party games, but I was late. It was my fault. That was the group that there was. I'm not going to sit around and do nothing, so that's what I did. I can teach party games, even if I haven't played them. So not only did me being late mean I didn't get to play the games I wanted to play, it also meant that I had to be the rules guy, which I really didn't want to do either. But it was my obligation to, because at the time, I was the only one that could. And just as like a little side note for this one here, if you're hosting a game group, and your game group boasts a library, but you're the one that brings the library, be on time. Because if the library's not on time, no one can play games. If you tell me you've got 100 games, I'm not going to bring my 100 games. You know, you've got 100 games. I don't need to bring my 100 games. But then I get there on time, and a bunch of other people get there on time, and you're not there. There's no games to play, except for like the one or two people brought, and then I'm stuck playing a game I don't really want to play because, well, I want to play something. So, yeah, guests, hosts, be on time. Now we're getting to the last two, and these ones are possibly the most important rules. And this first rule, well, not first rule, what are we up to? 6th, 7th rule, 5th rule, whatever. This rule. Winning isn't everything. Try to win. Always try to win. There is nothing worse than playing with someone who says, oh, I can't win, so I'm not even going to try. Just get off the table then. Why? Someone else could be here, you know? But it's not everything. Try, but don't try to the point where you're being obnoxious. Veterans to gaming will be familiar with the phrase analysis paralysis. Basically what it means is when you're sitting there looking over all of your options and you don't make a decision. The best way to describe this is we're playing a game. If I'm taking 30 seconds for my turn and the other 3 people are taking, say, a minute for their turn, that's fine. I can't be angry at the group for taking longer than me because I'm the exception. Let's flip that around now. If I'm at a table and 3 people are taking a minute for their turn, but one person is taking 5 minutes for their turn, you're being an That's it. I don't care that you want to win. You're Play your turn. Thank you. And our last rule, the venue. Respect the venue, make it profitable for the venue. I would much prefer to stay at my house and play board games at my house. And when I do live plays in 2022, obviously they will be at my house. But I still need to go to these games groups in these neutral venues to find people that I would actually invite into my home. Because I'm not going to invite people and then be like, whoa, this was a mistake. You need to test these people out first. And that's what these neutral areas, and not everyone has a huge second lounge room that they can devote to games, right? I'm very lucky that I have that. Not everyone does. So for those people, game groups are a necessity. If you want that games group to be allowed to keep using that venue needs to see some money. Buy some food. Buy some drinks. If it's an actual board game cafe or a board game store that's letting you do that, hell, once a month, buy a game. Yes, we're not all made of money, but if you want this hobby to continue, it needs to be profitable. If the hosts are asking for $2 or $3, give them $2 or $3. Hell, give them $5. You need to keep the group alive. The group, to stay alive, needs a venue. The venue, to keep letting you use it, needs to make money from you being there. Stop bringing in water. Stop asking for tap water. Just pay $6 for a bottle of water. Look at it this way. If you were to go to the movies, you were to see 90 to 120 minutes of entertainment. You got $17 for the ticket, roughly. Then you got all the popcorn. You're probably going with someone else, and one person's probably paying for both people. So let's say $80 for 90 to 120 minutes of entertainment. Then you go to board game group. You go to board game group for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. And you don't want to buy a $6 water? What is wrong with you? Come on, man. Okay, so that has been the top 8 things to do / not do, avoid, be, rules, guidelines to not being that guy at games group. Because you know what happens if you're that guy in games group? As my 4-year-old daughter says, I will destroy you because I'm a god. She actually says that. It's very unsettling. If you like the list, give it a thumbs. If you think I missed anything, put it down. I didn't even talk about hygiene. Oof. Leave that in the comments. That's an important one. How did I forget hygiene? Oh, that's so important. Ah. Anyway, welcome to the channel.